What if I told you that our history isn't a timeline? It's a crime scene. That the official story of humanity, the one taught in our schools and preached from our pulpits, is a carefully curated alibi designed to hide the original transgression. We are a species with amnesia, living in the ruins of a forgotten war, and the primary piece of evidence has been systematically hunted, buried, and memory-holed for 2,000 years. This is the story of the evidence.
Welcome to Secrets of the Ancients, where ancient mysteries awaken.
There are books and then there are ideas. An idea can be a virus. It can infect a mind, rewrite a worldview, and destabilize an empire. For centuries, the Book of Enoch was treated as the most dangerous idea in the Western world. It was more than a book. It was spiritual contraband. To even speak its name was to flirt with heresy. But here's a fundamental truth for any free thinker. When an authority tells you not to look at something, that is your cue to stare directly into it. Defiance, in the face of censorship, is the highest form of intellectual integrity. When this manuscript was finally dragged back into the light of the modern world in the 1700s, it did something terrifying to the establishment. It didn't just add a new chapter. It suggested the entire book of human history was misprinted. It presented a prequel so disruptive, so utterly world-altering, that the powers that be decided it was better to pretend it never existed. It speaks of the Watchers, celestial custodians who abandoned their post. It details the horrifying reign of their hybrid children, the Nephilim, and it chronicles Enoch's personal tour of the cosmos, a journey that reads less like ancient prophecy and more like a declassified trip report. So let's address the central conspiracy head-on. If this text is just a work of fiction, why the coordinated, multi-century campaign to erase it? You don't spend that much energy burying a fairy tale. You do it to bury a memory. Because here's the secret. The universe doesn't care what you call its messengers. Angels, aliens, ultra-terrestrials. The labels are just echoes in our limited language. The core event remains. And the truth about that event was deemed so toxic, it had to be locked away. What we're going to do today is pick that lock. Let's get the timeline straight. Fragments of Enoch found among the Dead Sea Scrolls prove it was revered by ascetic communities like the Essenes well before Jesus walked the earth. This isn't some later Gnostic fantasy. This is a foundational pillar of Second Temple Jewish thought that was deliberately kicked out from under the structure of modern religion. The text expands on a few cryptic verses in Genesis, turning a footnote into the main event. It wasn't just that the sons of God found human women attractive. That's a gross oversimplification. This was a calculated philosophical mutiny. 200 Watchers, led by Samyaza and the infamous Azazel, looked down upon a nascent, struggling humanity and made a unilateral decision. They decided we needed an upgrade. On Mount Hermon, they swore an oath, a binding pact to interfere, to break the prime directive of their existence. This wasn't just a transgression of divine law, it was a violation of cosmic ethics. And what was their cardinal sin? It was an unsanctioned technology transfer. Azazel didn't just teach metalworking. He introduced the concept of weaponized technology and artificial beautification, the twin engines of ego and conflict. Samyaza didn't just teach herbalism. He revealed the occult sciences, the art of manipulating the hidden architecture of nature, of hacking reality itself. The others unveiled the blueprint of the cosmos, astronomy, atmospheric sciences, celestial mechanics. They essentially gave a tribal species the keys to the kingdom. They tried to upgrade humanity's operating system from version 10 to version 100, overnight, without checking for compatibility. The result was a system crash of planetary proportions. This gift was a Pandora's box, and out of it flew not only knowledge but violence, corruption, greed, and ecological devastation. And then there were the children, the Nephilim. Don't think of them as just big guys. The text implies they were something fundamentally wrong, a biological and spiritual cancer. Their insatiable hunger wasn't just physical, it was metaphysical. They consumed the life force of the planet, throwing the entire system into a chaotic death spiral. Their existence was an abomination, a glitch in the matrix of creation. The cries of a corrupted earth finally triggered a divine intervention, a hard reboot of the entire system. Now, let's pull on this thread and watch our own world unravel. The Enochian saga is the perfect allegory for the Faustian bargains we are making in the 21st century. Who are the Watchers today? Look to the high priests of Silicon Valley, the architects of big tech, a small, unelected council of men who are gifting humanity with artificial intelligence, a power that rivals that of the gods. They speak of utopia, of solving disease and poverty, but they are handing us fire, once again, with no real instruction manual. We are being offered omniscience and omnipotence, and we're clicking I agree on the terms and conditions without reading them. The frantic, closed-door debates happening right now about AI safety are a modern reflection of the divine council deliberating the fate of the Watchers. It's the same crisis, just with a different user interface. And who is the modern Azazel? He isn't a single entity. Azazel is the military-industrial complex, the dark web arms dealer, the state-sponsored cyber warfare unit. He is the algorithm that drives polarization for profit, sharpening the edges of our society into weapons to be used against ourselves. But the most chilling parallel lies in a line from Enoch that is often overlooked: the corruption of the animals. For centuries, this was a mystery. Today, it's a headline, it's CRISPR, it's genetic engineering, it's transhumanism. We are now standing at the threshold of becoming the Watchers ourselves. We are learning to edit the source code of life. What happens when we create new species for labor? Or design soldiers who feel no fear? Or when the wealthy can edit their children to be a new, superior class of human? The Nephilim may not have been a myth, but a warning, a preview of what happens when one species gains the power to rewrite the rules of biology itself. The story of Enoch is a blueprint for how a civilization self-destructs, and the mechanism of that destruction is information control. The councils of Laodicea and Carthage in the 4th century were the world's first great content moderation meeting. They weren't just choosing books. They were defining the boundaries of acceptable reality for the next 1,500 years. Today, that job belongs to search engine algorithms and social media trust and safety committees. They are the new arbiters of truth, creating a digital canon. They boost, they suppress, they shadow ban. They are creating a sanitized, approved reality and the modern-day books of Enoch. The inconvenient truths, the dissenting scientific opinions, the uncomfortable political realities are being cast into the wilderness of digital obscurity. The charge is no longer heresy, it's misinformation. But the intent is identical: to protect the prevailing power structure from a dangerous idea. If this were just one story from one tribe in the Levant, it would be fascinating. But it's not. It's an archetype, a recurring ghost in the machine of human consciousness. The Anunnaki and their rebellious Igigi in Mesopotamia. The Titans of Greece, overthrown by the Olympians. The Jotun of the Norse, ancient giants from a prior age. The Asuras of India, locked in eternal conflict with the gods. The Viracocha of the Andes, pale, bearded civilizers who left promises of their return. How is this possible? The Occam's razor of mainstream anthropology, that all these cultures just coincidentally invented the same story, is a far more incredible explanation than the alternative. Carl Jung would call this evidence of the collective unconscious, a shared, inherited memory bubbling up in our global myths. It's like a phantom limb. Our history was amputated, but we can still feel the ghost of what was taken from us. These stories are not separate tales. They are echoes of the same planet-wide event, refracted through the prism of 1,000 different cultures. And just when you think the rabbit hole can't possibly go deeper, we arrive at Dr. John Dee in the 16th century. Dee, a certified genius who was Queen Elizabeth's most trusted advisor, claimed he bypassed the corrupted texts and went straight to the source. He and his scryer, Edward Kelly, alleged they made direct contact, and these beings gave them a gift, a language, the Enochian tongue. They were told it was the original language of creation, a sort of metaphysical source code. This isn't just a collection of spooky words. It's a fully functional language, with a complex grammar and syntax that has baffled linguists for centuries. It's either the most elaborate hoax in esoteric history, or it's exactly what Dee claimed it was. This raises a mind-bending possibility. What if the Book of Enoch wasn't just a history, but a user's manual, a warning about a technology of contact, a technology based on frequency, ritual, and language that could open a doorway? And perhaps that doorway swings both ways. Did Dee and Kelly simply reactivate a dormant communication channel? The implications are staggering, suggesting that the barrier between our reality and another is not a wall, but a frequency that can be tuned. At the end of the day, what does this forbidden story mean for us, right here, right now? The lessons are profound, and they are urgent. First, it teaches that true history is not a subject you learn, but an investigation you conduct. It is the art of reading between the lines of the official record. It's about reclaiming your own intellectual sovereignty and refusing to let any authority, ancient or modern, tell you where the boundaries of inquiry lie. Second, it is the ultimate cautionary tale about the seduction of power. The story of the Watchers is our story. Every day, we are offered shortcuts, technological fixes, and godlike powers. And every day, we must ask ourselves if we have the wisdom to wield them. The line between being a creator and a destroyer is razor thin. But finally, and most importantly, the Book of Enoch shatters the mundane prison of our modern worldview. It dares us to entertain the idea that the universe is far stranger, more populated, and more mysterious than we can possibly imagine. It suggests that the greatest secrets are not out there in the stars, but buried deep within our own collective memory, waiting for a generation brave enough to start digging. The book was sealed, the history was buried, but the seal is now broken. What you do with this knowledge, that is now part of the story.